Hey everybody, welcome to the next part of the RDCember, and today we're gonna talk about the 10th best unit as voted by you. But a small thing before we get into it, people have asked about the armory tool, this little thing here. I've done several videos about this, and I thought about briefly explaining it again, but there's actually a very good Steam tutorial about it. Oh, Steam tutorial. Yeah, I guess you can call it a tutorial, yeah, on how to set it up. So I don't even have to talk about this. It's a pretty good guide. It even links my videos. And yeah, it's honestly pretty simple. You essentially just have to download it from here and follow the setup guide. It's very simple. Just follow the guide. It's an incredibly useful tool, as you probably have seen. Now, what is the 10th best unit? Still not the Alouette, but it is the LCR 40 squad. And before we actually get into the stats, it actually got the same amount of total points as the Legion 90 squad. So I guess you could say that 11th and 10th are tied. I have put in the points the unit got. You can see there in the brackets at the top. Obviously rank 1 gave you 5 points, rank 2 4 points. It's a very simple system. Don't think too much into it. And that's how I ranked these units, right, by total points. Both had 95 points. Again, relatively even distribution of votes across the board. Now, stat-wise, LSTR, in case you didn't know, my favorite unit in the game, actually, they are, of course, very strong. A primary weapon is a carbine. It used to be even stronger. Of course, primary weapon, just like MGs, get a boost the higher your training is. But unlike MGs, they don't just get accuracy, they base accuracy, not even including the accuracy they get through higher veterancy options, but they also get increased rate of fire. So while obviously the MG3 on a Jaeger squad is just, for where am I? Yeah, or is it Jaeger with an R? Oh yeah, they don't display the umlaut. While of course there's a difference here between these two MGs. Uh, Essentially, it's 20% accuracy, obviously, which results at max range in effectively twice a DPS. With the range scaling, it's not exactly, it might be more, might be less, I don't know exactly. But if we look at actually battle rifles, they don't have battle rifles. Kustiagare, for example. Kustiagare, right, they both have battle rifles. It's not only the accuracy that increases, but also the rate of fire, as you can see here. And that's why LSTR still have quite the impressive DPS versus infantry. Obviously, they're not gonna hold up against other elite infantry with an MG, and they're probably not quite gonna hold up against stuff like Legion 90, because while MGs only have 0.5 HE and primary weapons have 1 full HE, don't forget about the suppression effect, right? MGs deal a good amount of suppression, and with MGs having a very high rate of fire, um, that suppression ramps up and you panics LSCR pretty quickly. Still, carbines, especially on elites, very strong. So don't underestimate their anti-infantry DPS. Of course, being elite, they have 30 kmh speed by default. It can't get higher than that on infantry, as far as I mean, you won't find any higher stats. Technically, it can be higher, but in practice, it isn't. So very strong primary, not the best primary you can have, but certainly one of the better ones. Unlike MGs, I mean, actually exactly like MGs, there's a few tiers, but carbines like this certainly on a higher tier. Vampire, one of the best anti-tank weapons. Obviously, it's not an Eric's, as we've talked about recently, but it has 875 meter range, which is very good. 70% accuracy. Assuming the LSCR are comp, that is as close to a guaranteed hit as you can almost get. They have a base accuracy, if they come on veteran, of 86% at maximum range, right? It doesn't even take into consideration the range scaling if you're in a forest or something like that. So almost a guaranteed hit. 2040p hits like a truck, of course, and very good range. And you can immediately break line of sight if you're at the edge of a forest or something. As soon as you fire, unlike the Erics, you don't have to keep guiding. So with a tank, for example, having 1.4-second aim time on its HE shells, this is kinetic, aim time 1 second, but on HE shells, tanks actually have 1.4 seconds. Essentially, assuming you get spotted in the first place and the tank doesn't die, if it's a tank, you don't even get a shot back at, right? So that's very, very good. And of course, Iglar, very good. One of the most direct comparison, or the most direct comparison, are probably SAS or SASF and SASF 90. Um, of course, 5 HG versus 4 HG means you will double tap planes if you hit twice, and you will double tap 10 HP helicopters if you hit twice. Still, personally, I prefer the LSTR 40, which should not completely impact the rating because you should vote your favorite units in a vacuum. But I feel like the extra range, especially versus helicopters, is very, very useful. Helicopters, many of them don't even have 10 HP in the first place, and one armor in helicopter does not reduce incoming damage from HE weapons, like from SAMs and stuff like that. But the extra range versus helicopters is so much more useful than the 5 HE in my eyes, especially against rocket bot helicopters like M8, MTVs, Lynx H7s, but also like the big prime targets, namely Longbow and Tigers, right? They both have 8 HP, meaning 2 Igla shots are enough. And having that extra bit of range really helps a lot. 5% more accuracy, also kind of nice. Of course, if all you have are man pads against stuff like planes, the 4 versus 5 HE is quite noticeable. However, and this is context that you should not include when voting for this unit, or should not have included, I should say. When it comes to the decks the LSTR 40 are actually available in, I feel like that's always worth pointing out when talking about the LSTR. And it is, Eastern Bloc, but honestly, East Germany is enough to compare this to. OSA AKM, Strelatinum, Tor, what do they all have in common? They have at least 6 HE. Basically, all your SAMs, even like the missile on the Tunguska, have more than 5 HE, meaning that if the against planes, the manpads and LCR, they're kind of like a support asset to the support asset that is your proper anti-air, right? Generally speaking, manpads should not or are not your main AA versus planes. Generally speaking, there's always exceptions, meaning that they're not your main DPS. Plus, with the speed of the majority of planes, you rarely get more than one band pad off anyway. Exceptions being something like A10 or maybe SE25s, or if they fly or turn right over you. But generally speaking, you will not get more than one hit off anyway. And that means that 4G is enough to finish off a plane or to preemptively damage a plane for, the 6 or 7 HE on top of that to kill the 10 HP plane. That's why the 4 HE is, in many scenarios, not nearly as useful in my eyes as the extra range and a bit more accuracy you have over, the Stinger A, which is like a direct comparison. SSF90, do they also get Stinger A or Stinger C? I always forget. They also get the Stinger A, and the other, of course, Erikois get the Iglap. Although Erikois are in the recon hub, that's a bit different again. But yeah, LSTR, honestly, my favorite unit in the game. I wouldn't say it's the strongest unit, but it's my favorite unit. SPW-80, while in general not really considered to be an amazing IFE or transport, APC, on veteran or elite squads is quite okay, because for one, due to the high veterancy, you get a decent boost. Plus, compared to BTR 70s, the KPVT actually has 20% accuracy and 10% stabilizer, as opposed to 10 and 5% respectively. So the KPVT combined with the veterancy boost in this scenario is kind of nice. Plus, you don't really spam this unit, so not having access to let's say a 10-point vehicle is not nearly as big of a deal as it would be on 10-point line infantry, right? You pay a maximum of 45 extra points over the course of a whole match. I think you get 9 LSCR in Eastern Bloc, probably 10 in East Germany, so 50 points over the course of the match, where you get, in a default Conquest match of 40 minutes, you get 5,200 points, including silent points, across 40 minutes, if I'm not wrong. So that's virtually nothing. Hind can be okay. In Mechanized, of course, you only get them in the Hinds. It's fine. Preferably, you'd still have them in the SPW-80, right? Wheeled plus a decent band pad means that they can also be like your... Oh, that does it wrong, guys. They can also be your go-to opening AA to stop very deep heat or drops or something like that. Obviously, if you unload them in the open and they're alone and an MTV is directly looking at them, they're probably dead. But if you have two of them, or if you unload them like immediately in a town, or they're shooting essentially into the side of a helicopter, so the helicopter would have to turn first, etc., etc., still very, very powerful. But yeah, I could talk about them all day. They're amazing. I don't think I have to tell you that. And yeah, that's the 10th best unit as voted by you. Let me know what you think. I definitely would have put him in the top 10 as well, I think. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I love him, but they're still amazing. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about the unit, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye bye. On the third day of Christmas, Eugen sent to me 3 LSTRs, 2 Legion 90s, and a Swedish Beacon 1C.